We welcome you into a Thursday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. I am the aforementioned Ironhead, and the Deer Goon will be joining us in the second hour. Filling in for the first hour will be Chris Bucanani, who will be over very shortly. He has to take care of getting us set up so that we're on the air here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox, and he does that kind of across the street from Quaker Steak Lube, and we are deeply appreciative of that fact. So, lots to get into today. I think we'll probably start talking some Penn State basketball. I know that is a subject that is near and dear to Booch's heart and also has caused a good deal of heartache over the years. But Penn State basketball getting a big win over Rutgers, first road victory for Mike Rhodes in the Big Ten, and did so without Kanye Clary, obviously the leading scorer, who did not make the trip and is still listed as day-to-day with the injury sustained against Minnesota. So we, again, will have Booch joining us for the first hour of the show and then Goon for the second hour of the show. And Penn State, I think, again, at the end of the day, it was a Rutgers team that obviously is not in contention for a Big Ten title this year. And offensively, I think it's fair to say Rutgers has some issues. 1 for 17 from the three-point arc is not going to win you a lot of games in today's world of college basketball. But listen, Penn State forced a lot of turnovers. Ace Baldwin is just playing fantastic basketball. And across the board, fantastic basketball. Doing a great job at the defensive end, creating opportunities for his teammates. Doing a good job of seeing the floor in the point guard role last night and distributing effectively. Very good with his shot selection and making it. And listen, Penn State obviously did not light the world on fire offensively either. It was a sloppy game on both sides. But at the end of the day, Penn State wins comfortably on the road in the conference. You take it, and I think you hope that you build on it. The thing that has been lacking for Penn State, and I don't think it's at all surprising given it's Mike Rhodes' first year, and it is a collection of talent that is kind of thrown together here this year. But the issue has been consistency. You have the first half where it looks like a NCAA tournament team and then some against Minnesota. And then you have a second half where it does not look good. It would be the polite way of saying it. And then you have, again, against Rutgers, not a spectacular offensive output, but a solid win, good defense. And I'm going to attribute part of Rutgers' problems anyways to good defense. Certainly, Rutgers is pretty good at shooting itself in the foot as well. I will grant you that. But let's see how this thing finishes up. See if Penn State can get some more consistent play down the stretch. They'll be at Indiana here on Saturday. I think that's a very difficult, certainly more difficult than Rutgers, but I also think a winnable game if Penn State plays, the way it did for the first 20 minutes against Minnesota. Penn State's capable of beating anybody, and all you need to do is look at Wisconsin. Again, Penn State is still, to this point in the season, the only Big Ten team to have defeated Wisconsin this season. So you know what Penn State is capable of. You don't know if they're capable of putting together consistent efforts and consistent performances that would allow them to go on any kind of a run in a conference like the Big Ten. Watched a little bit of that Purdue Northwestern game last night as well, and just interesting to see kind of the mirror image of the two games those teams played against each other this season. Northwestern pulled it out in overtime at home earlier in the season, and Purdue pulled it out at home last night. Obviously, Chris Collins ends up getting the 2 technical fouls and is ejected. And I think pretty understandable if at the end of the night you're looking at a 46-8 free throw disparity. Purdue went to the charity stripe 46 times, and Northwestern went 8. And yep, I can understand how some frustration could come into play there if you're Chris Collins. The other thing on the basketball front that we certainly need to touch on is Carolyn Keeger and the Lady Lions. And man, what a job that program is doing. Now, Ashley Owusu, no question that she has been the catalyst for the dramatic improvement here for the Lady Lions. Listen, Penn State was doing okay, playing good basketball, certainly putting up some good offensive numbers. But then Owusu comes in, and this team goes on a 6-game win streak. Really impressive win at Minnesota. Thought that was going to be a big test, certainly a winnable game. But man, thought probably going to need to pull something out down the stretch. Well, they win at 80-64. And really, in the second half, that game and the outcome was not in doubt. And I think we talk about confidence all the time in this show. You're just seeing a confident Penn State women's basketball team now. And I'm really curious to see. They have another game this weekend, but then next Thursday, a week from tonight, the Lady Lions will be at Carver Hawkeye Arena to take on Wonder Woman herself, Caitlin Clark, and the Hawkeyes. And you'll get maybe even a little better idea of, okay, yep, this has been a special run by Penn State, but where do the Lady Lions really fit in the national picture? Might find out a week from Thursday with that matchup with Caitlin Clark. Clark, by the way, if you missed it last night, has become the all-time leading scorer in the Big Ten and is roughly, oh my gosh, I think it's 120 points, maybe less than that, 110 points shy of the all-time scoring record in NCAA women's basketball. Barring injury, she will get there and should get there probably within the next 4 games. If she continues on the pace she's been in, at the very least in that point. So, listen, we're going to take a short break here, and we will continue. You are listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show, and we are coming back with much more in mere minutes here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox and on Facebook.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
You tansy busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen O'Haw-Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen O'Haw-Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen O'Haw-Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And, we're back working on some technical things with the radio side here on this Thursday afternoon. May take one more break here very shortly, trying to get hold of the technical folks that may be able to help us out, that hopefully will be able to help us out. Penn State basketball, good win last night. Lady Lions win their 6th straight. And again, Ashley Owusu, I think there's no question, has been a difference maker for Penn State when you look at the run they're on. But I will say, Shea Chesky and obviously McKenna Marisa, that team with Owusu in there now, everybody seems to very clearly understand their role. They have a lot of offensive firepower. I mean, they had firepower offensively before Owusu got there. It's just obviously taking it up to another level. Again, we'll find out, I think, a week from Thursday just exactly where this Lady Lion basketball team is on the national front. And again, we're continuing to work here to try to get our issues resolved on the Sports Radio 98.7, the Fox front. We just have something running that shouldn't be running at the moment. All right, couple of other things on the Penn State sports front. Obviously, Penn State wrestling tomorrow night, a big matchup with Ohio State at Rec Hall. That'll be a 6:30 start, and it will be interesting. I think this Penn State team is kind of chasing history. I don't know that Penn State necessarily looks at it that way in the room. Again, I think they truly are just focused on getting better, but it's an interesting season for Penn State right now because of this Olympic year. And, Kale, if you listen to the podcast, the Go PSU Sports podcast that Kale did with Brian Tripp this week, he talks a good bit about the Olympics and the training through the NCAA season with an eye toward the Olympics. And I just think it's a really interesting perspective, because I think in a lot of ways the grind of the college season, if managed correctly, can help those guys in their training. You know, there's always been this Olympic red shirt option, and it obviously is available for guys that want it. And we have several in college wrestling that are taking advantage of it. And we are continuing to I will be interested to see. Let me put it this way. I'm going to be interested to see when we get to April and the Olympic trials, if there's any perceptible difference in the results or the way the guys compete for those that took the year off from collegiate competition and used the Olympic red shirt versus those like Carter Starace and Aaron Brooks that are using the college season as I'm not quite accurately stating this, but as a stepping stone to the Olympics. And that's, again, not quite accurate in terms of what they're doing. I think there's two different pursuits, truthfully, that they are making in the same year. Although, again, I think they benefit one another. I think that pursuit of the Olympics can be aided by a good college season and the training that goes on with it. And truthfully, I think having that eye on the Olympics and knowing that that's out there later this year is helping guys like Carter Starace and Aaron Brooks not get complacent, certainly, but also kind of keep an edge to them as they work their way through the collegiate season. And when you look at this Penn State lineup, and we've been talking about it from day one before the season began, that the potential for this team was to be very special. And then you had the injury to Shane Van Ness, out the rest of the season, clearly a national title contender at 149, finished third last year, was ranked second, certainly projected to be at the worst a top three finisher had he stayed healthy. So you lose Van Ness, and then it's like, all right, do you need to temper? Penn State's still the clear favorite, still has 4 number 1 ranked wrestlers, and no other school has more than one. So not that Penn State isn't still the clear-cut favorite to win the title, but now do you temper the expectations in terms of chasing history, meaning the 170-point record set by the 97 Hawkeyes or the 10 All-Americans set by Minnesota? And at the end of the day, I think the answer to that is no. I think that stuff is ultimately still in play. Now, it's because of some tremendous production from some guys that really I don't know that Penn State was counting on at the start of the season. Braden Davis obviously has stepped in and taken 125 by storm to a large degree to this point in the season. I do think 125 is, at least on paper, I would say the most wide open weight class in the country this year, but it may be one of the most wide open we've had in, certainly at least in recent memory. In that, I think there are probably 10 to 12 guys anyway that you would look at and say, listen, I don't think it's that far-fetched that guy could go out and have a hot March, have a hot NCAA tournament, and win the national title at that weight. And I think most people are rightfully thinking Ramos is probably the favorite, I think, in the minds of a lot of people, including me. But I think Braden Davis is certainly a guy that right now, at least you look at and say, yeah, I could see him being there. Anthony Noto of Lock Haven. There's a number of guys. So I think that pursuit of history, and again, I don't think it's Penn State that's looking at it that way, but I think a lot of fans rightfully are, and we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But I think the emergence of Davis and presumably K-Sack at 49. And again, we'll see how that plays out as well. But with everything else in play, I think before the season, I would have said Braden Davis is a potential All-American, not anything close to a lock, but a potential All-American. Like, I thought Penn State had a shot. And really, before the season, I thought it was more likely Robbie Howard would be the starter there. But again, a chance at All-America honors there. And then you thought you had a shot at a national title at 149. I think right now you just flip-flop those two, I guess, likelihoods, if you will. I mean, Braden Davis is ranked number 3, is the only undefeated wrestler, and it hasn't faced a lot of the top, I think only one top 5 guy to this point. But, like, I don't think there's any doubt he is in the mix there. But I also don't think there's any doubt there's a lot of guys in the mix there at 125. But I think Davis now is a clear-cut national title contender, and now at 149, you have a legit All-American contender, really in either K-Sack or Evans. But for purposes of the discussion, I'm assuming it will be K-Sack ultimately that is the starter there. And so when you go back to the point-scoring potential, again, that 1997 Iowa Hawkeyes team had 8 All-Americans, 6 in the finals, 5 champions, and all 12 wrestlers had at least 3 wins at the national tournament. When you look at this Penn State roster, is Penn State capable of duplicating that? Yeah. I mean, Tyler K-Sack could certainly... Again, none of this is guaranteed. Tyler K-Sack is certainly capable of winning 3 bouts at the NCAA tournament. I think the other 9 wrestlers, truthfully, and this is something I want to get into as Booch joins us over here at Quaker Steak and Lube.
By the way,
thank you for your help.
No problem. My pleasure. I'm a man of many talents, as you know.
You are indeed.
Just jumping in here. I remember I was filling in for Goon on a show back in the fall when we were previewing the wrestling season. And you talked about this possibility with this year's team. And I think it was kind of like your bold prediction, like I'm just going to make a crazy bold prediction, and it's this. I was thinking over the last couple of weeks about that show, and I thought, man, in any other sport, with any other coach in America, at this point, in this kind of a situation, as this narrative is starting to evolve, I would be, as a fan, pretty concerned about outside noise leaking in, about pressure mounting up. Like anyone, you name it. If I was, go back to the Joe Paterno years, we're on the front cover of Sports Illustrated. I'm worried about what effect is that going to have on guys in the locker room.
Yeah,
I have zero concern, none. In fact, it barely even enters my mind that whatever is being said on the outside, whatever pressure, weight of history starts weighing down on the team as we approach nationals, it just barely even occurs to me that would be an issue under Cale Sanderson.
Yeah, and this February is going to be just for me covering the team, and I think for fans, it is just going to be fun to see how some of the storylines now start to develop with the individuals, because now I think that's kind of where you're at. It would drive Cale crazy to know if that I'm saying this, but I'm certainly not the only one. I think virtually everybody covering college wrestling believes that the national championship, the team title, is a foregone conclusion this season, provided, again, everybody's healthy, the usual caveats to it. But Penn State appears to be so heads and shoulders above the rest of the field right now. Again, 4 number 1 ranked wrestlers at their weight class. No other school has more than 1. And like Ohio State tomorrow night, and you have Bo Bartlett sitting there at number 2. Mitchell Messenbrink is sitting there at 7, and there's nobody that thinks Mitchell Messenbrink isn't a top 5 guy.
Yeah.
And I think most people now believe he's probably top 3. Whether or not he's one of the great debates, I think, right now is, can anybody challenge Keegan O'Toole, David Carr, Mitchell Messenbrink, Julian Ramirez all included? Or is that a foregone conclusion? And then, where, if you do think O'Toole is just the overwhelming prohibitive favorite, then, Messenbrink, where does he fit in there with David Carr, who obviously has a national title, is an elite athlete in his own right? Ramirez, who had a big win earlier in the season, but then just lost that major. I think Messenbrink's somewhere in that mix anyway. Olenek still up there too for Oklahoma State, but he just got handled pretty well in the dual meet with Iowa State as well. So, we'll see how it all plays out. Obviously, it doesn't matter what the rankings are and what's being said or anything like that right now. It's what's going to happen in March. But just when we do the comparison sake, again, 5 champions for Iowa in that record-setting year, 6 finalists, and 8 All-Americans.
What year was that?
97. Gable's last year. And again, this is all potential, but it's fun. I mean, this is what sports fans do. We project. So you want to see now, like, we're going to find out with certainly we're going to find out better with Bo Bartlett. Like, he's had some closer than expected matches to this point, still undefeated, but he'll have third-ranked Jesse Mendez tomorrow night, and then a week from tomorrow, he'll face the number 1 ranked wrestler in Real Woods. Well, we're going to know, all right, yep, Bo's good, just not quite there, or yep. And again, he could lose both, and you could still have the feeling, no, he's right there. If it's both 1-point matches, we're gonna know more definitively exactly where he stands right now. Anyway,
can I ask you a dumb question?
Yeah.
For a guy in that sort of position, obviously you want to win every match. But going back to Penn State does not have the greatest record in Big Tens, and nobody remembers or cares.
Right.
If he splits those next 2 matches, do you think there's actually a little bit of an advantage in that in terms of giving him a psychological edge going into March?
So, it's interesting. I think it
sounds dumb to me, but I feel like you see that a lot where early on, maybe you need to get humbled. Maybe you just needed to figure the other guy out. But you go into March feeling like you learned what you had to work on versus if you win them both, then, again, I feel like you've talked so much over the years about how Cale's methods are about always looking to improve, finding the extra edge, figuring out what you need to work on. As I think through it as like a dumb, know-nothing fan who just wants to see Penn State dominate in March and who cares about anything else, I almost thought to myself as you were talking, it wouldn't be the worst thing if he went 1-1.
Yeah, so it's interesting because
you don't want to see him lose both, maybe necessarily, but you lose 1 out of 2.
Well, so if you go back to Levi Haynes wrestled Chase Soldate of Michigan State a couple weekends ago. And Soldate had Haynes on the ropes, right, a couple different times. And Levi Haynes ends up getting a reversal with 1 second left in the second tiebreaker to pull out the 1-point win. It looked with 3 seconds left like Levi was going to come up just short. And so I'm going to answer your question kind of it's going to seem like, okay, so you're just going to game the system no matter what. But at the end of the day, yes. So if Levi Haynes had lost that bout, and I actually said this during the broadcast, I'm like, hey, if Chase Soldate wins this match, hangs on and wins it, I don't think it's the end of the world for Levi Haynes. I think a loss here can maybe just not energize, because Levi doesn't need re-energized, but I think maybe change the focus a little bit and, hey, you know what, let me just go wrestle and have fun and get back to the process and not worry about winning.
By the way, Vincenzo Joseph is the guy who I think of.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Where it's like, who cares? Who cares if you lose to the guy if you beat them when it really matters.
And listen, Kyle Dake is probably the best example I can think of in college wrestling of a guy who, and it wasn't that he had a lot of awful matches, just so we're clear. It wasn't like this was a guy that lost 4 or 5 times to bums every season, but he lost some matches that, in retrospect, when you look at his career, it's like, that's a surprising result. But it was usually, I think, maybe entirely in the first half of the season. And what Kyle Dake, when the lights were on and when he needed to produce, like, you just could not score on him. You could not beat him. Like he had an inner drive and a confidence and obviously a tremendous skill set. But, you know, that guy, regular season losses never meant a doggone thing.
And you believe he was just wired up that way. Like some of these guys are just there. And Kale seems to find and refine a lot of them. They're just like process-oriented machines, you know, right? Like they're just chop wood and carry water, right? It doesn't matter. But some guys have a little bit more of the Allen Iverson gene in them.
So, and I think probably coaches and maybe even competitors in all sports will kind of do this. So what I'm going to tell you is if Bo Bartlett wins both of these matches, what Bo Bartlett's going to take out of that and what the coaches are going to take out of that is you are clearly the man. All we need to do is focus on continuing to improve, and you're already better. You're going to be that much better when we get to March. Like, you're going to be basically untouchable when March rolls around.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be the mindset and the approach. If he loses one or even both, it's going to be, oh, good. Now we know the adjustments we need to make. Like, no matter what the result is, the mental approach to it is going to be, okay, good. That happened here because it portends now the success when we need it the most in March. And I'm just telling you, they're going to play that game psychologically and across the board that no matter the result, it's going, okay, now we know what we need to do, and we will go out and win Big Ten and national titles when March rolls around. So at the end of the day, I don't think winning or losing in the regular season matters all that much relative to how are you competing? Are you continuing to show progress? Like, Real Woods is obviously legit. Like, that guy is big time, ranked number 1 for a reason.
Yeah.
Really, really good. If you lose that match 5-4, yes, I think you go back to Penn State saying, all right, now I know what I need to do. I need to make that one more move, that one little adjustment, and you do it. I don't think you need to lose, and especially with this coaching staff and this program now, like, I don't think you need to lose to get those lessons. Like, this team this program has been really good at using losses as lessons. I think you can learn from that, but I don't think you need to lose to, okay, man, now I know. Like, I think these guys know, man, we got to get a little better here. This is something we can improve on. Little technique here, little adjustment there on top. And they're doing that win or lose. And again, it's just that championship mentality, if you will, the thought process that these guys have across the board. And, you know, I think you need to look no further than Carter Starace and Aaron Brooks. I mean, these guys are winning comfortably against elite competition. I mean, I go back to that NWCA All-Star meet with Mekhi Lewis, and I mean, Carter was just on. Now, that doesn't guarantee anything. And again, I do get when folks start, listen, Starace and Brooks, those are guarantees. They're not. Like, do I feel really good about those two? Of course. But
and no guarantees,
sports,
man.
And it's wrestling. And yes,
Spencer Lee was a guarantee, right?
Yep. And we have seen over the years, I mean, we've seen a lot of guys obviously solidify their legendary status with March performances, but we've seen guys, and yeah, Spencer Lee most recently is a great example. He always comes up big. He's always money in the big tournaments, except for the one match. He got caught. It happens. And I'm just telling you, it just I makes me just like, oh, it's not a guarantee. Like, do I like Carter Starachi's chances a whole lot? I do. Aaron Brooks, yep. Greg Kirkfleet,
Was it Mark
sure.
Hall last year who in the finals just
Roman Bravo?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just and again, there can be all kinds of factors that play into it. You know, I go all the way back, and not that he was a given anyway. I mean, he was the 2 seed, but Pat Cummins, the year he went to the finals at heavyweight for Penn State, he was sick that weekend. Like, I mean, vomiting, nauseous, like could not. He was sick, and I'm not looking.
You think
you go out
Karl Malone sent him a poison pizza? Is that your theory?
I'm worried about it. Looking into it, but listen. So sometimes it's just bad timing and stuff happens. Like there's a bunch of things that. So I never there are no guarantees. There's just no such thing. Really in any sport, but certainly in wrestling, where again, one move, you make one mistake against a good kid and they can capitalize, and that can be the end of it. So anyways, all of that being said, I do think Penn State, just when you do that side-by-side comparison with that 97 Iowa team, if you just look at the rankings right now, right, Penn State would be expected to have 9 All-Americans. Well, that would be one more than Iowa had that year. Mm-hmm. Just going by the rankings right now, Tyler Kasak would be in the blood round, which means he would win 3 bouts at the NCAA tournament. Well, those numbers, and again,
you said they had 12 win 3 bouts? At least
they had all 10 starters won at least 3 bouts, and they had 8 All-Americans and 6 in the finals.
So 10 won 3 bouts, 8 All-Americans, 6 in the finals, 5 national champions. Okay.
So, working back the other way with Penn State, again, you got to go out and do it. So I'm not taking any of this for granted, but certainly the potential, again, we keep talking about the potential of this team and can it chase history? Well, yeah. There are 9 guys that are ranked as All-Americans right now. Top 8 are All-Americans. They have 9 in the top 7 of their respective weight classes. And Tyler Kasak is number 12, which would get you to the blood round, which would be, at least 2 it would be 3 wins. So you would match you would surpass Iowa if you just wrestled to the rankings now in the postseason.
Yeah.
And then so they had, again, 6 in the finals. Right now, Penn State has 5 ranked in the top 2. And then you have Mitchell Messenbrink, ranked 7, but I think most of us feel like, again, probably at least a top 4 guy. And Braden Davis, who is ranked number 3 at 125. Well, is it possible that the 5 guys that are ranked in the top 2 and then either Davis or Messenbrink get into the finals? Well, yeah, that's possible. That's not far-fetched crazy talk.
Yeah.
Not saying it'll happen, but could it? Yes. Well, that would get you then to 6 in the finals. And then, again, you have 4 ranked number 1. Obviously, those 4 would be capable of winning a national title. And then you would need 1 more from Davis, Bartlett. And there's, Aaron Nagao could get a hot tournament here too. I think the most likely candidates would be Bartlett and then Davis and Messenbrink.
Yeah.
If one of those 3 win a title, that gets you the 5 that Iowa had. And then you factor in bonus points. And I forgot, I don't have it written down with me, but I think it was 6. Now I'm forgetting if it was 6 or 8 pins that Iowa had. This team is certainly capable of, again, when you go through the bonus points, matching what Iowa did in that remarkable year. So
going into the tournament, is there even going to be discussion of this internally? Or
I don't think
they're not going to say,
really
"Okay, guys, this is."
I don't think, and I think Cale would be unhappy that anybody anywhere is talking about it.
I'm sure he would.
But Yeah, I mean, I truly don't. I don't.
Do you think
it's
they're
something-
aware? Do you think the guys are aware?
I think at this point, some of them would have to be, just because there's been.
You pick it up.
Yeah,
I mean,
and there's been-
every
there are
athlete
national
swears they
articles
don't
about
read
it
the
now.
papers and don't pay attention, and they're practically all lying.
Well, and if nothing else, I mean, somebody like friends, family, like somebody's going to mention, hey,
Sure.
I saw in an article that, that this writer or your own knucklehead broadcaster is thinking you guys might set the record. So,
right.
Yes, are they aware that it's out there now? I don't think any of them are sitting down and, all right, these are the calculations and this is what we need to do. I think they are aware.
They're generally
that
aware that this is out there.
And I think they know, they know that this is a special team. I mean, when you talk to Mitchell Messenbrink, he's like, yeah, I am so excited to be here and to be part of this, because I'm looking around at Levi Haynes in the weight class below me. I'm looking around at Carter Starachi right above me. I'm looking at Bernie Truax. I'm looking at, and that's another one. I should have thrown him into the mix there with Braden Davis. And anyway, bottom line.
How many years are we now into Sanderson's tenure?
This is year 15.
Okay. It is wild. Right?
16. Oh my gosh. 2010 till now.
Yeah,
2009 to 10. So
it's like 15.
Postseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is 15.
Yeah.
Why am I second guessing?
So it is wild that when you look at the talent that's come through Penn State in that time and the accomplishments, team and individual, that we're having this conversation about, like, this team might, just in terms of the final tale of tape, surpass not only everything that's been done at Penn State, but everything that's been done in the sport.
Well, and so that is something else I wanted to pick up on today, because I do think this is a fascinating part just of sports and maybe life in general, which is expectations and the role they play. Because let's just say, hypothetically, Penn State goes out and has a disastrous march, the likes of which we've never seen from Cale Sanderson or Penn State before, and somehow Missouri ends up winning the national title. Penn State finishes second. It would stun everybody, right? And it'd be wildly disappointing. I mean, here's this team that we thought might be on the cusp of history, and establishing itself as, almost inarguably the greatest college wrestling team ever. And now you're the runner-up. You are the national runner-up. You are the second best team out of the, whatever it is, 80-ish college wrestling teams that are out there. Like, that is pretty heady stuff. That is a big deal to be one of the top 4 teams get trophies at the NCAA tournament. And it is considered a big deal if you were one of the 4 teams that's bringing home hardware. But it would be bitterly disappointing for everybody around this program. And rightfully so. Again, when you're looking at what Carter Starachi and Aaron Brooks have already accomplished collegiately, Greg Kirkfleet, when you look at the expectations and the mounting belief in Mitchell Messenbrink and an Aaron Nagao and Bernie Truax and what he's already accomplished, like, completely understand. I mean, rightfully, you'd be bitterly disappointed over it. It is just so funny to me that the role that expectations play. I go back to Tiger Woods. I mean, Tiger Woods, believe it or not, when he had that 10-year run, he did not actually win every major. And there were some majors where he didn't even finish in the top 5. Not a lot, but it happened. And it was always, right, for Tiger fans, and I think for golf in general, it's like, man, disappointing. I thought Tiger would win it. Well, it's hard to win a major, and it's a little different. I mean, I'm not comparing apples and apples, and I'll grant you that. But my point is that expectations play such a role. Nittany Lion basketball.
It might play the operative role, honestly.
Yes, and with Penn State football this year, right? Like we got into the debate of whether it was a disappointment or failure.
Let's just pretend they won the bowl game, because I don't think it would have mattered. For all intents and purposes, heading into the bowl game, Penn State had the exact same season for 2 consecutive years.
Yep.
One year, the fans came away from it happy as a pig in slop. The next year, they're like, this is a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, what coaches should be fired? Like, the coordinators are getting shown the door. It's a same season.
Yeah.
Like, practically, again, until you get to the bowl game, a mirror image from last season to this past year.
Yeah, and there was a Yahoo Sports story after Penn State beat Wisconsin that was kind of mocking Penn State basketball and the fans. It's like, are we really at the point in college athletics where we're going to storm the court for a win over the number 11 ranked team in the country?
I understand that column gets written now every time somebody storms a field or the court when the team's not number one. Like, whoever authored that column, you don't get to use Penn State as a proxy for where we are in college basketball for anything.
Fair.
For anything. Like Penn State could come out in like robot suits in their next game, and you don't get to write the column. Is this where you are in college basketball where everybody's wearing robot suits?
True.
Yeah, so that's it. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no.
You're saying we only rushed the court after we beat number 11 because we're Penn State and our expectations are understandably lower than those of a more storied college basketball program.
Wisconsin was and is still the top team in the Big Ten. So I think it was more I don't think it was,
we
beat number 11. I think it was, hey, we beat the team that right now is the standard bearer this season in the Big Ten, along with Purdue. But I mean, from a in conference, like they were undefeated at that point. And again, still the only loss that they have, which is just wild.
It is crazy. Yeah, I did not think about that. They are still the top team in the conference.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But listen.
No wonder we disappoint in the tournament every year.
But I do expectations play just such a major role in like first, second, and third is first, second, and third, but it's not. If you're expected to be first, third is not the same as somebody that wasn't expected to do anything, wasn't even expected to be at the event, and they come home with the bronze medal, right? Like it is completely different. And I'm not arguing that it shouldn't be either, but by the way, I'm just saying it is so wild to me to see in politics, right? It happens all the time. You get somebody coming from nowhere and they win the election, and it's like, oh, what a great story. And then you have somebody else winning an election, but it's like, they only won by a percent. What a disappointment. It's like, well, at the end of the day, you're winning. It's just wild to me. And I think when you look at the level of disappointment you have in losing, and I think about like the Buffalo Bills were absolutely convinced, right? I think their fans and that locker room was convinced, yep, this is the year we get over the hump. With Kansas State, it is bitterly disappointing. The Detroit Lions, right? And going into that game, if you had told Detroit fans going into that game, listen, at the end of the day, you're going to lose by a field goal, but it's you're playing the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco, and this is the first time you've been relevant in how long in pro football. If you started that day saying to the Detroit Lions fans, players obviously, no, we're not taking that. But I think most of the fans actually, if they were honest, be like, oh, man, yeah, if we were competitive and it was a close game, be disappointing. You're up 24-7 at halftime. So now that expectation is completely different. And now it is bitterly I'm not saying.
And by the way, you did not luck into that score. Right. You are dismantling the 49ers on their home field in every aspect of the game.
The much more physical team. Like they were hammering the 49ers.
Yes.
So even like within a game, like Penn State, Minnesota basketball, it's like it wouldn't have been like going in. It's like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if Penn State loses to Minnesota, even at home. Like this is a good team. you're up by 10, you're playing the way you are at halftime, and then you see what you saw in the second half. Like, that is bitterly disappointing. Like, that's tough to take.
Going back to, this is the team that lost to Bucknell and beat the top team in the Big Ten. It's now also, as my good friend and co-host Kevin Horn said on Twitter last night, they follow up the worst collapse in years with the best road win in years.
Well, so this is yes, and
what a team.
A couple of things about that. So I think we could fairly describe Penn State men's basketball this year, and probably not. We shouldn't be surprised by it, but I think we could say inconsistent is a fair term we could use with this team.
Absolutely.
I don't think this team will go down as one of the most consistent. Boy, they were just even keeled all throughout the season. Again, understandably, you have a first-year head coach. You have a collection of players who were thrown together a couple of months before the season. Well, yeah, that team probably is not made and established for just consistent night in and night out performances. You know what you're going to get. You don't. I think one of the more amazing things, well, let me go, Lady Lion basketball, expectations I think were modest at the start of the season, like looking for improvement. Maybe this team
there was a sense like this could be
that
this could be a little bit better than the last few years, but I
think with the start of the season,
the level of success
like,
they're having right now.
They might not even get to, like, they might get there. They might be able to work themselves into being in the conversation for the tournament, but
I think there was a sense that Carolyn Keeger was on a bit of a hot seat coming in.
I think she was on a bit of a hot seat, and so now. Ashley Owuzu comes in, which they obviously knew was going to happen. I don't know, and you knew she was going to have a positive impact, but I don't know that anybody, certainly outside of the program, was like, yeah, I think once Owuzu gets there, they're going to catch fire and win 6 straight and start to vault up and be worthy of top 20, 25 consideration here. But that's where we're at. And now the expectations are, like, now it is going to be disappointing if this team does not get to the NCAA tournament this season. Like, that is going to be very disappointing. So, again, expectations can change quickly. Consistency is really hard. I think it is an underappreciated component to the really good teams. Kansas City certainly had its struggles with, and part of it was injury related, no question. But at San Francisco, same thing. Had a 3-game skid where it seemed like everybody was injured for them.
Yeah.
But those teams throughout the course of the season, when healthy, like, you knew what you were getting. Like, they are a consistent, didn't know necessarily if they were going to the Super Bowl, but they're consistent. I think one of the most impressive of the many impressive things that Cale Sanderson has done with this wrestling program is the consistency with which they go out and compete and win. And again, I think it's easy to take it for granted. I think we all probably do take it for granted to some degree. And we're talking about a lineup that has changed. There have been guys in and out, illness, injury. Van Ness is out for the year. We've had illness the last couple of weeks that has taken, Aaron Nagao out last weekend, Carter Starachi the weekend before. And the consistency with which this team competes, I think, is remarkable. And the consistency, obviously, in particular since 2016, that this team shows up big on the biggest stage at the NCAA tournament is, we've just not seen anything like it in college wrestling before. And I think it's very unlikely we'll see anything like it in the future. It just is, it's really hard to do that. And again, there's injuries, there's illness, there's girlfriend problems, there's homework struggle, classroom struggles. Like, we're still talking about human beings.
Yeah.
And we're still talking about an age group where you are trying to figure a lot of stuff out. Like, that 18 to 23 age range for anybody, but for young men who are in the spotlight, like that is not an easy thing to, all right, yep, let me just go out here and consistently perform at a high level. And when you look at the dual meets, and I know that, there's a lot of debate in the college wrestling community about, how important are dual meets to the Penn State. Does Penn State really take them seriously? Do any teams really take them seriously? Well, whether you do or not, Penn State clearly does. Like, you're not going undefeated in 8 out of 9 seasons because you don't care about the dual meet results. But when you look at the consistency of the performance, right? Like, a lot of teams will have different training cycles, and Penn State does too. I don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. But you can see sometimes, all right, man, this team just didn't look as sharp. But you understand it. It's mid-February. They're getting ready for nationals. They're probably training through the week. Like, that is, it happened here at Penn State. I watch it regularly, and I've watched for it with Cal. And again, they are do not misunderstand. They are peaking, like all of these teams, including Penn State. There's a training schedule that they set up where they are all trying to peak at the conference tournaments and then especially at the NCAA championships. But I honestly cannot remember a dual meet. And like 2015, Penn State had some kids redshirting, and Ohio State won the title, and Penn State finished, out of the running for a team trophy. But even in that season, like, I don't remember a dual meet where you came away saying, boy, Penn State as a team. Now, again, individuals, yep. And again, might be illness, might be, they had problem cutting weight that week, whatever. I'm not saying that every kid, every time out has looked on top of their game, but I genuinely don't remember a dual meet, certainly since 2016, but really in Cal's tenure, where I came away being like, Penn State was just off, like they were a little out of it as a team. Plenty of times where it's like, that individual just looked a little off, maybe 2 or 3 guys, but not a team. That is virtually unheard of, right? And we talk about it in football, like every team, you feel like in college, you're going to have that one game. It's whether you can get through where you're just off for whatever reason. And again, there could be a bunch of factors. The 94 team.
Florida State almost lost to Boston College this year. Alabama almost lost to South Florida, for God's sakes.
Yeah. And
Michigan struggled with Maryland.
And it is hard to be consistently good, like really, really good. And, maximizing whatever your potential is. Hard for us, like, right? A few people probably that you're like, man, I don't know how that guy, like, it doesn't seem like he ever has a bad day. It doesn't seem like he's ever, but there's not many of them. And, it certainly isn't me. Like, there are days where I'm like, let me throw in the towel. Like, it's just not working for me today. I don't know why. It's just not.
You're halfway through the morning. You're like, this one's done.
Yep. We're ready to call it a day and move on to tomorrow. We'll try better tomorrow. So expectations and consistency are just 2 things that I think are fun to watch for in sports and really difficult to achieve. Either one. To meet expectations once they are high is where I'm going at with the expectations.
Yep.
Obviously, if you have low expectations, as we have for our show here, we can meet those. That's the key to a successful life. Low expectations.
Yes. Why you storm the court when you beat number 11, whoever wrote that article.
Absolutely correct. What are you thinking here with the remainder of the season for hoops? Because I'm thinking more of a roller coaster ride. I think there's going to be some more great moments. I really do.
Yeah.
But I also,
it's hard to argue after last night. And look, people may look at this and say, "Oh, good, congratulations, you beat Rutgers." I'll tell you what. I mean, it pains me to say it, but if you're setting the 2 programs on a scale right now, there is no question. Like, the up arrow is pointing way, way up for Rutgers basketball. They have done a really good job. not just getting the most out of the talent that they have. They're, they lucked out. Ron Harper's kids, love Rutgers.
Yep.
And so they don't have the brand name necessarily, but in the pecking order of Big Ten basketball, Rutgers sits up above Penn State right now. And that was a good win over a quality team in their building.
And listen, and I think Mike Rhodes, I do feel better and better about the hiring of Rhodes. I felt good about it from the get-go.
I mean, I did not enjoy sitting through that Maryland game. I never enjoy sitting through losses like that, but I've been a season ticket holder for longer than I care to admit on the air, which means I have sat through very, very many of them. So they're going to happen. As you said, consistency. Even better programs than Penn State are going to have an off night. And let's be honest, this basketball team does not light the world on fire on a regular basis. So you're going to have those nights for sure. They're almost baked in. To bounce back from that, as you said, in year one with the roster that you kind of cobbled together, not other than, the guys who came over from VCU.
Yep.
No player you've traditionally recruited and only 2 or 3 guys who at the beginning of their recruiting process said, yeah, I want to go play at Penn State. To throw all of them together, there was going to be some growing pains, for sure. Even in a program that's set up better to succeed than Penn State.
Yeah.
And you talk about the pressure of high expectations. I think low expectations can be a psychological burden on a team as well.
Agreed.
And so when you factor in all of those things, when you hit a big pothole in the middle of the road and you get dinged up like Penn State did at home against Minnesota, I think it is very indicative of what kind of coach you have, how the team looks coming out of that.
Yeah.
So to follow up that heartbreaking, devastating loss, and I mean, it's devastating.
It was brutal.
To blow a 16-point second half lead, starting the second half on your home floor in front of a big fired up crowd and just confirm everybody. I mean, listen, I wish I was a better fan. I wish I'd have been screaming and yelling through that. Like that lead started disappearing. My phone came out. My body language went to pot, and that was it. I mean, I was slumped over a chair by the end of it. I've been beat up by this program for too long. But to go through all of that and then to come together on the road and to be inspired to play good basketball and win in a tough environment against a talented, well-coached team, that gives me a ton of positive vibes for the direction things are going.
Yeah.
And as we talked about with the women's team, with the transfer portal now, all you need to do is hit once. You need to hit on 1 or 2 guys. They don't even need to be your recruits. And, you can be a top half of the conference team, which for Penn State is a big accomplishment. And if you go all the way back to the beginning of the Pat Chambers era, has been a long, painful climb.
The climb. The climb, baby.
That was not unintentional, my word.
I figured as much. Appreciate the time, dear Booch.
My pleasure.
The Goon, chomping down the onion rings. You can take your time. We got a few minutes. He will join us, and we'll...
I'll tell you what, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
We can get to after the break, and then Goon can come in after you're done answering my questions. I give him more time to eat his delicious Quaker Steak and Lube onion rings.
Yes, indeed.
Which I highly recommend. Come out to the Lube and get an appetizer order of onion rings before you get your wing sauce. And you can even ask them. They will do this for you. You can get a little wing sauce on the side to dip them in.
Not a bad idea at all. All right, what's your question? Or you're going to ask when we come back?
Yeah, when we come back.
Got it. Okay. I thought you were going to let me mull during the break. Put me on the spot.
No, I'm going to put you on the spot.
I like it. All right, we're coming right back. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, our home away from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can come on down and enjoy the great food, great beverage, and fantastic service here as well. And you can come down and join us. Again, we're here Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. You are listening to The Big Show on none other than WFXS, Pleasant Gap State College. This is Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, handsy busboy. Your wings suck. I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back here on a Thursday afternoon. The Dear Booch spending a little extra time. We appreciate that. And has a question for me. And then the Dear Goon finishing up over there will
the
join
Goon's
us
got to eat his,
well.
enjoy his Quaker Steak
Lube.
Lube.
Got to keep the Goon nourished.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
So this will be like a I'll hang up and listen type of question here.
I like it.
So I was thinking about this while we were talking wrestling in the last hour. And we're hearing so much talk about analytics right now because of the way the NFC Championship game ended. And, do you go for it on fourth down? Do you kick the field goal? Do you punt? One thing that cracks me up is I tend to be somebody who is personally favorable to analytics, but I also find a lot of the people who defend positions I agree with vis-a-vis analytics to be short-sighted and insufferable. So I find myself disliking. This happens to me, by the way, in all walks of life right now. I hope there are other people out there who can relate to this. I actually find myself personally disliking the people I agree with more than the people who I think are wrong.
I just had this conversation with somebody on the political front.
Yeah, politics too, for
I'm
sure.
Like, man, I absolutely, completely agree with that guy, but I hate the way he just said it, and now I'm questioning whether or not I actually.
Oh yeah,
because I know I do believe it, but it's like the way he presented it makes me think that this is idiocy, and now I have to re-examine it, and I'm like, no, I really do believe that. But
I hate the people who say, like, well, if this would have turned out the other way, then people wouldn't be criticizing the decision. No, it's precisely because of the chances of it not turning out right, which it didn't for Detroit, which is why some people say situationally as much as you want to argue that because you can't quantify momentum, it doesn't exist, because you can't quantify the psychological elements of the game, they don't exist. They do. And smart people understand that that all the data we can crunch can make us better and more powerful. But there are also some elements that you do have to let gut factor in, right? And that's part of it. So it's not that you don't understand the power of the data and the analytics. It's that you realize there's more that goes into it. So my question for you, Ironhead, with that as the preface, is has the advanced analytics trend worked its way into the wrestling world? And if so, how? And specifically, how does our program and how do Cale and his staff think about it? Or if not, you can just tell me no. There's none of that. I mean, I would imagine there's got to be something at this point.
Yeah. So there's.
I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you for the the question, and we'll allow the dear Goon to come in and get seated here next to me at Quaker Steak and Lube. So here's what I'll say about that. With like the analytics, the way we think of them in baseball and football, I don't think enter into it with wrestling. But I will say, like, and I don't think Penn State's alone in this, but like the Penn State coaches and their staff will chart everything. And I mean, like, if you watch a dual meet, okay, or a tournament with Penn State, like, you cannot help but notice, and I've had people ask me about this, the Penn State kids, when they go out of bounds, like, run to get back to the center. It is an objective at Penn State to be the guy back in the center of the mat first. It is a mental edge that they feel they have. It shows that you're fresher, you're more ready to go, all of that. I don't know what the percentages are, but like they can tell you that 96% of the time our guys are beating the opponent back to the center of the meet. Like, they are tracking that stuff. They are tracking, obviously, takedowns, reversals, escapes, stuff that everybody does. But and I asked this question of Cale a few years ago, very similarly, and he wasn't sure what I meant, and I wasn't entirely sure what I meant. I wanted to see where he went with it. But like, analytics incorporates a lot of different things. One of the components that Penn State measures, and we've talked about just kind of the holistic approach that Penn State takes to trying to get Penn State Wrestling, I'm talking about, tries to take in getting the wrestlers to perform at their optimal level. And obviously, wrestling in the room is part of that. Like, we got to practice. We want to practice against other guys. We're going to work on different things technique-wise. Diet plays a role in that. Diet has always been important in wrestling, but I think it was often not understood and not used effectively. It's like, well, yeah, you got to sweat out 8 pounds. Well, how do you go about sweating out the 8 pounds? The timing of it. What nutrients are you putting in your body to allow the energy reserve to stay? Like, there is a lot more known and understood now, obviously, than before. And listen, to your point, Booch, with analytics are important, and understanding what the science says or the math says will work and not work overall. There is still that gut feel and that component to it. So even like with sleep schedules, and I think now I'm forgetting if it's 8.5 or 9 hours of sleep that you're like, for optimal performance level, that's what you're supposed to get. And they will track this stuff. Like, how many hours of sleep did you get? And they'll, use the devices and stuff. Did you get restful sleep? All of that stuff. So and rest and recovery is obviously an important part of athletics, and we understand that better than we ever did before. So they'll individualize it, right? So that not everybody everybody can benefit by getting the 8.5 hours of good sleep. Not everybody actually needs that to be performing at a high level. And there could be people that need a little more, a little less, and to get their optimal personal level. Same thing with from training and weightlifting. Like everybody benefits from it. There are certain things that you need to do, but do some guys, just the way they're built, would it be better to adjust the weight training schedule, do a few more reps at a lower level versus a few less reps at a higher weight? Like all of that stuff, they are constantly analyzing, and they have a network of folks that they use for different things: nutrition, for the training cycles, for the technique, and all of that. And again, even within the match, you'll see some guys, and I don't know that they may use analytics. This I don't know, but like second period, comes, you have the choice. Some guys just, I'll take bottom. A lot of guys defer. Anytime it's their option, they defer. They want that choice in the third period. I don't know if the analytics would say, there must be somebody out there that has it. Like, does it matter? Do you see the guys that defer? Do they more consistently score in that third period? I don't know. That stuff, I'm guessing there are teams that, at least for their team, are analyzing that and what is or isn't more effective. But I don't think there's analytics in the way we think of them, percentage-wise. And, hey, if it's again, if you're down by 4 or more, like you need big points, you're going to go for a big throw. If you're down by 2 points, you just need the takedown. You're going to try to get in on what you consider your best shot when you're down to short time, 10 seconds. I don't know if that's necessarily analytics as much as it is just, hey, I know what I need to do here in this given situation.
Coach round you up.
But I do think analytics are coming into play, I think, in all sports to one degree or another. Yeah. And I think you'd be foolish not to take a look at them. I also think you'd be foolish to just completely, all right, this is,
disregard them?
or to just completely go with them. Like in every situation, analytics says, this works 80% of the time, so you do it. Well, I just don't have a good feeling that it's going to work here. I'm seeing the way this game is playing out. Like, I do think with all sports, like you need to rely sometimes on your gut. I just have a feeling this guy is going to produce here. I know that
you're a head football coach. Your defense is practicing very, very well at a high level all week. You win the toss, you defer. Let them take the ball first because you want your defense out there.
Yep.
That type of thing. I mean, if that's the feel that you have. And, so you're talking about analytics and how. So to combine all of your worlds together, Bastardi doing the weather.
Yep.
He made a point to me a couple of years ago. I keep thinking about it. I was like, man, I don't understand why more people don't do this. Think about it. He said, you should be looking at the weather an hour before kick to 1 hour after the kick. And that should somehow, you're picking which side you're going to defend. I mean, you may have, at 3 o'clock game at 4:30, they're expecting a really bad storm to come through there. So you want to get some points early. So you're going to take the ball. Or you want to defend this goal because the weather's coming in, the wind's coming in. And I was like, man, you're right, Joe. I mean, you really think about it. I mean, it's hard for me to say Joe is right, especially to Joe. And I hope you're watching, Joe. No, but, something like that. I mean, there's definitely analysts that that's thinking ahead of time. That's very, very impressive. And you're talking about weight training and doing this and that, and you're in the wrestling room. Now, you have to realize you got guys who are 125 pounds to guys who are 305 pounds.
Well, and are doing different things.
Yes.
So there was a time, right, where Penn State, and actually it was a pretty significant period of time, and I always thought it was. I actually got into some discussions with some of the strength training coaches. And listen, I'm not pretending that I'm in any way any kind of an expert when it comes to strength training and the practices, but Penn State for a long while was like everybody was doing the Nautilus type of work,
Yep.
and they were all doing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive I'm right about this. Like they were all doing, and it was the idea was that this is preventative maintenance basically on your body, and so it made sense to them at the time that listen, everybody's body needs. Again, I'm going to use the term preventive maintenance. So it's just we're trying to prevent injuries, and this system works. But like instinctively, I'm watching this, and I'm like, okay, so Goon, as an offensive tackle, needs to do certain things on game day Saturday. A women's gymnast on the balance beam surely isn't needing the same thing to get ready for that. But they were doing the same.
That's come a long way.
The same thing. And so even within again, for wrestling, certainly for football, right? Like a quarterback needs different things than an offensive tackle versus a wide receiver, right? Like you need different things. You're a quarterback. Arm strength is important. Mobility is important. Leverage is critical for linemen.
Mm-hmm.
Speed and quickness is critical for wide receivers. Well, again, there may be some carryover. I mean, I'm not saying that there's nothing that a gymnast and a offensive tackle wouldn't have in common in terms of their athletic needs. But again, it's very different ultimately what they're trying to achieve and what they're trying to get their body to do. So it would make sense that your strength training, that the whole thing would be different, and you would shift. Hey, we need flexibility is
that's
more
the biggest
important
difference
here.
in sports in the last 40 years.
The strength training
Absolutely.
and the specificity
the health, the training that actually goes into it. I mean, people finally started to realize, okay, this is a huge thing that we really need to take this. You talk about the universal machines going around. I mean, that was the knock on them. It was an easy way for one guy to train 12 people at one time.
Right.
One person's doing dips, one doing pull-ups, one doing benches, one's doing shrugs. You go around a machine, whistle blows, move. Whistle blows, move. That type of thing. Easy way for one person to train a lot of people. But when it became in the sport specific, it's that's what we're at right now. So you're talking about like a quarterback workout. What don't you want to hurt on the quarterback is anything to do with their arms or shoulders. So they're going to do a workout where they're not gripping anything. You know what I mean? They're doing pullovers, they're doing pull downs, where they're doing a little bit of grip, but the pull downs are like done with, with a machine. Where as an offensive lineman, you want to build your hand grip strength because they say we hold. I don't believe in it, but it's what it is. But we would work more with the heavy barbells and stuff like that. And one of the things that JT had back in the day was he had barbells that were specifically for our hands. So you got to grip this thing. It was about 100-pound barbell. Then you put your weights on the side of it, and you're really constantly working your hand grip and grip strength with the football. But the quarterbacks weren't doing that. A gymnast wasn't doing that. That's where the sport specificity has come into play. Yeah. And there's also many, many more people in the equation now who are trainers, graduate assistants. I mean, Joe Paterno's first thing to our Chet Furman and then John Thomas was, if you hurt one of my players in your weight room, you're gone. That's the bottom line. So they weren't doing these super explosive type of things. And there are times where they are great and there are times where they're not great, So it is what it is. And then you got to get into the whole thing, like even in season, out of season. It's a even bigger thing. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of, like I would talk to Fitz about this. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. You know what I mean? No one is perfect. You just gotta, if you have the ability, you have enough coaches and assistants that you can actually, specifically train each guy to say, hey, this is one of his strengths. Let's work on that. Or this is a deficiency. Let's work on that type of thing. So you have a lot more people in that business, in that world. And that, like I said, that has really changed in the last 40 or 50 years, but the nutrition has. That is the biggest thing. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, we talk about, we go out back in the day. I mean, even when I was a strength coach in 05 and 06, they had their summer money. And then our job as the weight room grad assistants was to figure out, get these guys what the specials are in town, because we didn't have dining hall in the summertime. The most important time in our season is that 3 months in the summertime. And they didn't have food for us. They gave you money, but you wanted the money, of course. But you're going out, and we would buy a pound of pasta and a pound of ground beef, and that would be our dinner, and then our lunch the next day. I mean, that's what you were eating. Were you getting? You weren't eating great. Now it's the kids actually understand what you put in versus what you're going to get out of it. Us, it was just like, what's cheapest? How can I save money? And fill me up. That's a huge difference.
And I think a lot of it too, Goon, is just the whole. I think the approach now is much more about the let's work smarter, not harder, right? Like the old school mentality. I mean, you go back far enough, it's like, drinking water is for wusses. Hey, we're going to practice hard. Well, that was pretty dumb. We learned. I'm not at the time. I get it. But
I was in high school. Water punishment. You didn't get water. That was a punishment.
Yep. And same thing with hey, do you really want this? You need to put in another hour of time. Well, there is a point of diminishing returns, right? Like you can work 5 hours, and those last couple of hours, all you're doing is breaking your body down. Like you're not helping yourself. You're hurting yourself. For a long time, and again, not everybody is exactly the same there, by the way, but there is a point at which, again, the body can only withstand so much in terms of a workout and the stresses that you put on it. And if you overdo it, again, you're hurting yourself. You're not actually helping yourself in terms of the training. And I do think, along with diet, I mean, all elements of it, we've improved our understanding dramatically, and I'm sure we will continue. But two other components to it: the mental health side of it, where it's envisioning stuff, seeing yourself doing great things, but getting your mind to the point where you have the confidence that, yep, I can go out and do, there's a lot more, I think, understood. It's probably still a lot not understood. And I think a lot of folks are working to get there, but a lot more is understood about what it takes to get the mind as well to where it is ready for you to perform at an optimal level. And part of that is dealing with the stress that comes with competing for a championship or being in front of 100,000 people at Beaver Stadium, right? Like we know more, and we know that not everybody reacts the same, right? Like some guys need that, and they'll tell you, yeah, I need the kick and the tushy to get me going. And other guys like, nah, I don't need that. Like I just need, tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. Like I don't need you to. We're not all wired the same, and I think for a lot of years, the coaching approach in a lot of sports by a lot of coaches was the same. Like, you do it my way, I know what I'm doing. Well, your way may work for the majority of people, but not everybody. Not everybody responds the same way to the same stimuli. And so I think that's an important component. And then, again, the rest and recovery part, Goon, where we have a much better understanding of, your body needs the downtime. It needs to recover and rest from the stresses that you're putting on it. And we know much more now about the how to get optimal performance out of the body as a result of, yes, workouts, but also recovery.
Never really got the rest of the recovery thing. I mean, I mean, you're also 18 to 23-year-old, so you can recover much quicker. No doubt about that.
For optimal performance,
but
your body.
And then you have to teach a person that. Like, you got to break it through my thick skull that, hey, going out after a game until 2 a.m, drinking 48 beers and getting 4 hours of sleep is not the optimal thing. Well, I could sleep it off on Sunday, but that's not optimal. You're not doing yourself any kind of favors that way. You know what I mean? There are kids now who do realize that, you don't do that, and then getting it through our head, but we were raised a different way. That is the biggest, the knowledge of your body at the high school and college level is so, it's probably 100% completely different.
Yeah.
From when we were at that age versus now. There were guys who were, you'd be like, oh, what are you doing? These guys were taking all these supplements. I took supplements in college. I took creatine one time. That was my thing. I was on creatine.
Yep.
And then I had to go through the NCAA and this and that to see if it was legal and this and that. And they're like, your body naturally produces it when you eat fish and a lot of this different stuff. So what's the problem? So then I had some pretty good gains on it. I did very well with it. So then they put some other guys on it and they actually started paying for it. It was just weird because it was just like there was absolutely no knowledge.
Yeah.
And the only reason I tried this creatine stuff was my girlfriend was a personal trainer at one of the downtown places. And she said, you may want to try this stuff. So I tried it. And it was good. It worked for me. But I had to explain to John Thomas, my strength coach, that I was on it and why I was on it and this and that. And I'll take any boost I can get, because, and this is one of the things that people don't understand and can't believe when I say that. I suspected one person in my 5 years at Penn State of taking juice.
Steroid?
Yeah, one guy that I would suspect, and it probably was right. Now, were there more? I don't know. Maybe I was just naive and foolish. I don't know. But, I'll talk to other guys at my age in college, and they're like, crazy. We were all juicing back then. I'm like, really? What the hell? Why were we killing people? None of us were juicing, at least none of my friends and I. I don't know. Maybe we're just better athletes, better players, I guess, and that was their way of catching up to us. I don't know, but it's
interesting.
It's very, because I went when I was with the Colts and when I went to Canada, even when I was like coaching and stuff like that, they couldn't believe that none of us were really ever on steroids. And I was like, really? Was it that big of a thing? And some guys were like, I told you about Northwestern, that 95 team, they supposedly they were all beamed out through the roof. They made the team commitment. Good commitment.
But Robbie Gould was the only one that you ever really
absolutely. Ray Finkel, a.k.a. Brett Conway.
There you go.
Remington Steele was juicing.
We are going to take a break. Oh, by the way, thanks, David. David is watching from Cedar Hill, Texas.
Where is Cedar Hill,
Love
Texas?
it today. Down in Texas.
Oh,
yeah.
I know where that is.
Longhorn State. We will take a break here, and we will be right back with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
We welcome you back into the big show here on a Thursday as we get ready for another weekend.
So are the boys ready for Friday?
I think they are.
I do have to ask this question.
Yeah.
Why not Bryce Jordan Center for this match and not Rutgers? Was there a holdup with the
I honestly don't know the answer to that. I don't know if this was Big Ten Network factors into it. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could play into it.
Now, to do it at the Bryce Jordan Center, Ohio State would have to agree to it.
They would agree to it.
They would agree to it?
And part of the reason may be that I know Tom Ryan let it be known last time they were
that's right. He would rather
wrestle
wrestle at BJC.
Yes, that he was upset that they weren't selected.
Well, now we know the answer of why.
Well, I really don't know if that factored into it or not. But
in my world, it does.
Okay, there you go.
I solved the problem.
There you go.
See, that's what I am, Ironhead. You're a problem solver.
It's what you do. It's who you are.
Absolutely,
we appreciate it.
So the boys ready? That's gonna be a heck of a match, man.
Yeah, it should be a good dual meet. There's a couple of bouts. I think 141 and 149 are going to be of particular interest for Penn State fans. Just Mendez is obviously Jesse Mendez, who's ranked third at 141. Be a great test for Bo Bartlett. It's an interesting contrast to styles there a bit. And then 149, I'm really curious to see, and I'm presuming, and I don't know, I don't have inside info on it, but I'm presuming Tyler Kasak will be the starter there at 149. And if it is, well, really, even if it's David Evans, D'Amelio is a really good, really experienced wrestler for Ohio State, but at home, that feels like one that you can sneak out and maybe make a move up in the rankings. So those two are probably the most intriguing individual matchups for Penn State on Friday night. It is interesting. I was on with another podcast earlier this week and was asked about the discrepancy in the dual meet ranking and the tournament ranking for Ohio State. Ohio State is 6th in the dual meet rankings, but is 17th in the tournament rankings. And the tournament rankings, by the way, are what the Big Ten use for their rankings. The Intermat tournament rankings is just, you had to pick something to go with. And so the Big Ten in wrestling, when you see the rankings come out next to the wrestlers' names, that's what they're going by, the Intermat tournament rankings and the team rankings. So Ohio State is 17th in the rankings. And I've had people, what's going on? I see some places they're ranked 6th, some places they're 17th. When you look at this Ohio State team, that all 10 wrestlers are ranked, right? So that is indicative, and the rankings for Intermat go out to 33 spots. There's 33 wrestlers that compete in each weight class at the NCAA tournament. So they go all the way out to 33. So all 10 wrestlers ranked means they're good, obviously, at all 10 weights. But one wrestler ranked in the top 3, not in the top 2, one in the top 3 in Mendez at 141, and only one other one, Dylan D'Amelio at 149, ranked in the top 8, of course, are All-Americans at the end of the year. So they have 2 projected All-Americans right now. 10 guys ranked, but 2 that are ranked in the top 8. So dual meet wise, again, that's a balanced lineup. If you have a hole here or there in your lineup, they're going to be able to take advantage of that.
Head to head.
And then there's not a weight there where they're weak, but there's also only a couple where
they're not on
you're
the
like,
stage.
man, they're really, really strong here. So a bunch of weights there. We're like, yeah, good. Not
no
great.
other sport is like that.
Not right now. But I think I think Ohio State, the future of that program, I think is good. Some of these young kids, and they may be ranked a little low right now. We'll see how it plays out. I guarantee you, Tom Ryan and Ohio State are not sitting there thinking that they're just going to have 2 All-Americans here at the end of the year. And they do have some young wrestlers in that lineup. But so it is a good dual meet team. The issue, and it's an issue for everybody that faces Penn State this year, is Penn State is just loaded at every weight. Like you have, I would argue you have national title contenders at 8 weight classes. And again, so I'm clear because I get stuff sent to me after comments like this. I am not predicting.
Do not.
8 in the finals for Penn State. I am not saying that's
You're saying 10.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, I think all 10 starters, regardless if it goes at 49, certainly have a chance to be on the podium at the end of the year. And yeah, I think there are 8 guys where it's like, it's not preposterous that they would be in the finals. Like they'd have a couple of them would have to pull an upset, but it's not an upset that you're looking at. And it's like, oh man, you're talking about a guy that's, heads and shoulders above the rest of the weight class or anything like that. It's like, yeah, it'd be a mild upset, but you could see it happening. So Ohio State really does have a very good team. And
they stack up
is
10
really
versus 10.
solid.
They can wrestle.
But against Penn State, I think 2 bout victories. Like I think best case scenario for Ohio State, presuming all 10 starters for both teams go, which who knows, hasn't happened in a while. But if you go with the projected starting lineup of Penn State against the projected starters and they all compete, you would I mean, Penn State is favored in 9 of the 10 bouts. But I think really the one is a toss-up with Bartlett and Mendez. And then the 49 would be the only one where Penn State is an underdog. And again, I don't think they're I think that's more of a toss-up match, too.
That's crazy.
I think the other weights, again, it's varying degrees of how strongly Penn State is favored, but I think in all 8 of the other weights, Penn State is a clear favorite. So you're looking at the potential, again, 8 matches where I think Penn State is clearly favored, and 2 where I think it's pretty much a toss-up. Maybe Ohio State slightly favored at 49, and, I guess Penn State would be slightly favored. You'd have to say at 41. But so the potential is certainly there for a shutout in the dual meet. I think there's going to be some good wrestling and some really good matches. I think at the end of the day, the potential of Penn State is just, but honestly, Goon, I don't think there's a dual meet out there where it's inconceivable that Penn State could shut out the opponent. I mean,
right,
Iowa,
I asked you a crazy
Missouri,
question.
and again, I'm not saying it would happen or predicting it, but like there's not a dual meet out there where you're like, yep, there's no way Penn State would win here. Longer shot in some of them at a couple of the weights, but I don't think such a long shot that you're like, yeah, just realistically no chance there.
Crazy question time.
Yep. Go ahead.
So you said the other day, I said if Penn State took all 4 of their number 1 guys out, as in the hot top ranked 4 guys.
Yeah.
There's 4, right? Or is there 5?
There's 4 ranked number 1.
4 number 1s. If you put the backups in those 4 spots, does Penn State, you said Penn State would still win the national title. And that's insane to think about. Now, my next question, was I right in saying that?
They'd be in the mix.
Okay, well, they would be, it would be competitive, but they have a chance.
Yeah.
They wouldn't run away with it like they're going to do now. But
correct.
Okay.
Like it
Here is
not
the
be a
next
guarantee
crazy
by
scenario.
any stretch, but
next crazy scenario.
Yeah.
All of our top guys, all 10, 1 through 10 right now, what we got, all in the top 8, top 10 wrestlers in the country right now. If you take a Big Ten all-star team, so the weights, the top 125, 133 guy from that ranked in the Big Ten that aren't Penn State guys, does Penn State win that match?
I think probably. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and that's not definitive, obviously.
I know,
this is guesswork, but obviously you have 4 guys that are ranked number 1, so they're going to be favored against anybody. Not that they would guarantee wins over everybody, but
they'd be wrestling the 2s.
With 4 number 1s, you'd be favored. Well, Bo Bartlett is number 2 at 141, and we're going to find, he'll face number 3 tomorrow night. He'll face number 1 the following week. So, we'll see at least where he's at this stage of the season with those 2 bouts. But so you have the 4 number 1s. Again, they'd be favored, obviously, over anybody. To varying degrees. And so, and I think Mitchell Messenbrink, I think there's 3 other guys that are capable of going toe-to-toe with probably anybody in the country. And Braden Davis at 125, in Mitchell Messenbrink at 165, and in Bernie Truax at 184. So if you presume the 4 number 1s win in against any all-star lineup, then you need, taking bonus points out of it, one more. You would need, 2 more to kind of assure victory. And that means that between Davis, currently ranked 3rd at 125, Bartlett, currently ranked 2nd at 141, Truax ranked 5th at 184.
That's the national rankings.
Correct.
So they'd probably be number 1 in the Big Tens.
Well, so in a lot of cases, you'd be running in, Messenbrink would be, Messenbrink would be probably, we'll see how he does with Caliendo next week.
Correct.
That'll be a big test against Iowa. But your top, I think, the general consensus is that the top 2, and that's how they're ranked right now, but I think most would agree Keegan O'Toole and David Carr are 1 and 2, and in that order. O'Toole clearly number 1, Carr clearly number 2 at 165, obviously not in the Big Ten. Ramirez from Cornell, not in the Big Ten. Olenek from Oklahoma State, not in the Big Ten. So Messenbrink, Davis would be right there with anybody in the Big Ten for sure. Bartlett, same thing. Again, not guaranteeing they'd win an all-star match, but certainly would have a chance at those 3 weights. And I think Truax at 84, you'd throw in there as well. So you would need, and by the way, Aaron, I don't want to make it sound like, Aaron Nagao is 5th in the country. He is certainly capable of beating anybody as well, and especially with Penn State's penchant for rising to the occasion in March. All 10 of these guys, again, on any given day, I think are capable of beating anybody in the country. Doesn't mean that I think they have 10 guys that'll go out and win national titles. I'm not predicting they'll have 10 All-Americans, but I'm saying it's possible, and I think there's very few matches where you would like across the board in the country at all 10 weights. Like there is maybe a handful where you're like, ooh, that's a long shot for Penn State to win. And even there, again, long shots sometimes come in. Like Kakaisen felt like the better wrestler when he wrestled Truex. Now that was back early part of the season. Kakaisen would rightfully be favored, and I think objectively you'd say I wouldn't rule out a Truex victory, but say it seems much more likely that Kakaisen would win that head-to-head matchup. I think at 149 there's a handful, at least a few matches there where, like, I'm not saying Kasak couldn't win, but boy, it'd be tough odds. Like, I definitely had to have his work cut out for him. But again, there's those are kind of and maybe Nagao with the top two at 33 would be relative long shot, but there are not many matches that you wouldn't feel like Penn State has a real shot in head-to-head to win, again, any weight against any opponent.
In the Big Ten. Take it nationally.
Big Ten or country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it nationally. They still have a shot. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in sports.
Well,
I mean, it's like
we haven't seen.
You've seen UCLA basketball 10 and 12 years type of thing, but that, I mean, wow.
Yeah, we haven't seen this potential in wrestling. Now, again, right now it is potential. We'll see how it ultimately plays out. I'll tell you one other thing I'm looking forward to is Lady Lion basketball at Iowa next week. A week from tonight, they'll get their shot at Caitlin Clark.
Storm the court.
In Iowa. I tell you, Clark is just one of those phenoms. It's not, obviously she's a terrific basketball player. And I don't know if it's partly just with the NIL age we're living in but like she is transcending women's basketball, right? Like there are people that don't follow women's basketball at all that darn well know who Caitlin Clark is. Even if they're not watching the game, yeah, that's
crossing over.
Who
very
she
impressive.
is. And listen, again, start with, yes, a fantastic basketball player, unbelievable competitive drive, but also a personality that I think just translates well to, like, she's a likable person. She's, humble, gives a lot of credit to her teammates, but confident. Like, she knows she's good. She knows she's put in the time to make herself good. And I think she's a very likable person, and I think somebody that is easy for the average fan if you don't have any vested interest. I would root for her. I hope she does well. I'd like to see her have success, and she'll end up with the NCAA scoring record here within the next few weeks.
And I also like
probably in the next 2 weeks.
Fathers can look at that and their daughters can emulate that and be proud of.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, young boys can too. Like the work ethic, all that stuff translates to, it's not just little girls that I think can look up to her. It's like, yeah, if I have a son and you want to find a good stroke for your shot, watch what she's doing and emulate that. Like, that is
pretty damn impressive.
Big time. Yeah. Big time stuff. So, that'll be fun. She did, if you missed it, last night become the all-time leading scorer in the Big Ten and is now second nationally. And again, she'll break the national mark, presuming she stays healthy and everything within the next 2 weeks.
You got a wrestling match Sunday?
No, just Ohio State. Yeah, it's interesting. So these next three meets are going to be big. They'll have Ohio State tomorrow night, then obviously at Iowa a week from tomorrow night, and then they have the Bryce Jordan Center match 3 days later against Rutgers. So there'll be some really good tests. Day after. Yep. So there'll be some really good tests here for
you got the Charlotte thing on Monday at the
Nittany Lions. Yeah. So locally, a couple things. We have a show with Penn State football players coming up this Sunday. Jim Galante and I will be hosting that. whereabouts, we'll let you know at the time, but it's a closed event. But we'll have a couple of Penn State players on that we'll be talking to, and looking forward to that event. I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun.
What's a closed event? Is it like an NIL thing, like a member only type of thing? Okay.
And I think the word we have anyway, and I'm actually really looking forward to talking to him. One of the guests is going to be Riley Thompson, the punter, and the Aussie. And I think I'm really curious just to get his perspective on a bunch of stuff. But I was in Australia for a couple of weeks. Absolutely loved my trip there. And
fell in love 3 times, I heard.
One thing that Australia and the United States have in common is being bonkers about our sports, like a love affair with sports. But I'm really curious just to talk to him about the difference in the sports cultures and similarities in the sports cultures between the two countries. Certainly the college sports culture in America is unlike anything anywhere. But anyways, we'll talk with him about that on Sunday.
Who in Australia is shipping all these punters over here? I mean, they're literally, it's like 80% of the NFL teams and college teams have Australian kickers.
Yeah, that show, again, will be from 5 to 6 on Sunday. And, a week from Monday, we will have a very special show down at Cafe 210. That's really looking forward to that. Charmaret Curtis with the Teammates for Life and Carolyn Keeger, the head coach of the Lady Lion basketball team, and I believe a player or two from the Lady Lions will also be down at Cafe. Again, I'll be down there from we'll kind of kick things off with that event at 4:30. But the on-the-air show will air from 5 to 6 a week from Monday here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be the start of what we hope is going to be some really neat things coming down the road with Char's help. And again, Carolyn Keeger's team is just on fire right now. It's been pretty remarkable to watch that team go on this 6-game run and counting in the Big Ten. Really looking forward to that show. It'll be Jim Galati and Landon Tengwall hosting it again. I'll be there at the start, probably not on air, but the show will air from 5 to 6. And if you are coming in town and going up to the Jordan Center for the dual meet,
that is a man of the people, baby.
Between Penn State and Rutgers, we'd invite you to come on down, encourage you to come on down and enjoy it. It should be a lot of fun. You can get your Penn State vibes going before heading up to the Jordan Center for the 7 o'clock matchup between the Nittany Lions and the Scarlet
Knights. And there are
Knights.
still tickets available for the wrestling match.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know.
odd.
Yes, there are still tickets. Yeah, the Monday night.
The Monday night thing. It's
making it tough for the out of town. It is. It's just tough. By the time you get out of there and get back to the, like if you're in the Harrisburg area, you're probably close to midnight,
Harrisburg,
right?
Yeah.
With traffic, and by the time you get out of
match is 7 to be over at 9:30, out of there, on the road at 10, 11:30. You're pushing midnight.
Yeah.
That's if there's no traffic.
Yeah.
No weather.
I mean, So, I don't know how many. Yes, there are tickets still available. And I really don't know how many are still available. But if you want the opportunity to check out what may go down historically as the greatest team in the history of the sport.
Absolutely.
Not a bad opportunity. That is going to wrap up our show for today. We will be back on Tuesday with another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. Our thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube for hosting. Our thanks to you for listening. Again, we'll talk to you on Tuesday. Until then, be good and be safe.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Your hands, busboy. Your wings suck. I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen O'Habaker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen O'Habaker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen O'Habaker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.